What would you say is your best piece of financial advice? Like if there was one that, is important and you want people to take away, what would it be?
Start today. I think a lot of times people like to wait. They try to time and see, well, I'll wait till the rates go up, or I'll wait till this happens. Or when I learn this, I want to be an expert. I want to make sure I really understand it. You want to get your feet wet. You really want to start. And of course, we'll make little mistakes here and there. But if you don't put your money into the savings, it's never going to grow. If you don't put your money into your 401k, you're never going to grow your retirement, right? You really want to start where you are. And as you're learning, you can evolve your strategy, whatever is fine. But you have to start, right? So I always say the best day to start investing is today.
Wow. Okay.
Today.
All right. You hear that, Katrina?
Yeah, but I mean, what if you don't have a lot of money to start with for investing?
I love when people say that. You can start now with $10. You can start with $5. It's a much different game than 10 years ago, than 15 years ago, where a lot of times you would have to go in and into a stockbroker and all these things. Now things are digital. You don't have to do that. There are also no more commission fees. I remember when I first started investing and I was like, I'm going to buy the companies I like. I buy this clothes. I'm going to buy here. But every time I'd invest, they would take a commission off of that. So I would be putting money into this stock, and then the brokerage I was with would take money from that. They don't even do that anymore, right? So now you can start off with $10, $5, and now we have something called fractional shares, right? So whereas before, if I wanted to buy stock in this company and it was $100 and I don't have $100, I couldn't buy it, right? So that was really preventing people from having access. But now a lot of these brokerages have fractional shares, so I could put $10 in. So I can say, okay, I may not have one whole share, but I have a piece of this company now. And then when I have another 10 or another 20, I can build it. It's really building that habit, building that routine, building that muscle of investing without having to have thousands of dollars to start off with. So I really like the financial landscape we're in now, not the economy, because everything is expansive, but where it's more accessible for people to start where they are.
I think investing is such a daunting, idea of what to get into. And for me, and a lot of people I know, when you invest, what happens then? Like, okay, so you put your money in toward a share, right?
Yep.
You see that money going up. Can you take that money out?
Wait,
Does it stay there?
I was going to say, peel back even more.
Yeah.
Where do we go to invest, right? Because we hear about, you can go with a financial advisor, or you could download an app and do it yourself, which sounds exhausting.
I can't go straight to the stock market and hand them $10.
Like how does this work?
That.
Take us step by step so that we know how to start.
Yes. So the first step is you're going to go to a reputable brokerage. And so I always talk about, you really want to look at the history of the brokerage, because there are ones that pop up and there are ones that are like fancy, fun apps, but it almost feels like gambling. And I don't like to gamble with my money, right?
Nope.
So I always say investing and gambling are not synonymous, right? There's risk in investing, but I'm really looking at the history of, so I always talk about the S&P 500, right? So the S&P 500 has been around for 100 years. So I'm going to look at this index fund, and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to look at the historical performance, as opposed to, this is like trending on TikTok, I'm going to download this app and put my money into it. I'm not going to do that, right? And so the first step is open at a reputable brokerage. Then after you do that, you're going to want to go into a low cost index fund.
Write this down.
Low cost index fund. So I'm going to explain what an index fund is, and we're going to use food, because we were talking about food earlier, right? So when you buy a share in a company, you want to think of that buying a slice, right? A slice of pizza. So I'm buying one slice. The whole pizza is the company. When I am buying an index fund, a low cost index fund, I am buying a large pie of multiple different companies, right? So instead of just saying, I'm going to buy this one cheese piece, I'm trying not to name a specific company, I'm going to buy this one cheese slice, I can buy a low cost index fund and it's going to give me a cheese slice, a margarita slice, it's going to be all these different things. So now I'm diversified. So now I have less risk, because I'm not putting all my money in one company, I'm putting all my money in a bunch of companies that are performing well. So the S&P 500 tracks the top 500 companies in the country. So that is going to give me a lot more, breathing space, where I'm like, okay, I don't need to panic, because if 500 companies, the top 500 companies all crash, then we have a much different problem, right?
Right.
So it's like, I feel much safer putting my money into this index fund that's tracking 500 companies, as opposed to putting my money into one company that might have a bad year, that might have a bad decade, and now I'm just losing money. And so traditionally, over the last 100 years, the S&P 500 has returned an average of 10%, right? So that doesn't mean every year it returns 10%, but on average, if I start investing at 20 and I'm going to retire at 65, if I keep putting money in the S&P 500, I am going to have, my money's going to grow. And so that's what we always talk about. That's where you want to start. So you open up the brokerage, you put in $100, $50, $10 in a low cost index fund that tracks the S&P 500. Another thing you could do is a whole market index fund that tracks all of these stocks, all of the companies in the entire country. So it's like, again, there's 3,500 companies on the market. It is unlikely that 3,500 companies are all going to fail, right? So there's risk, but less risk.
And then you don't touch that until you're 50, 60. The point of it is to put it in and let it grow until you're ready to retire.
Correct. Yes. And when you start early, you can retire earlier. So I say you're buying back your time, right? So I reached Coast Fire, which we can talk about. Yeah. I reached Coast Fire at 32 years old, which means,
what is that?
So Coast Fire means that I no longer have to invest. And by the time I'm going to still invest, but by the time I reach my traditional retirement age of 65, I will have my financial independence number. So I will have $1.7 million in my portfolio. I keep going because I don't want to retire at 65. I want to retire at 45. So I keep investing because now I'm buying back my time so that I don't have to work till 65.
I love this. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
That sounds amazing.
Thank you.